Astonishment, profound sorrow, and deep reflection are the emotions that wash over me. After researching and learning about more than 100 Black public figures connected to gender rumors and the cruel unspoken verdicts within the hip-hop world. Hello everyone, we are our Memory Vault, and this is the video OG rappers that are secretly gay. This greatly impacts how we view the truth, the pressures of toxic masculinity, and the legacies of legends, and it might just leave you stunned. This video is perfect to play while you are resting, enjoying a meal with your family, or doing chores around the house. All the information in this video has been carefully researched and gathered from multiple sources. If there are any oversights, please leave a comment below to help our channel continue to grow. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and ring the notification bell to receive updates on our latest videos. Now, let us step right into the stories of our first figures. Tupac Shakur. When turning back the golden pages of hip-hop culture history, the name Tupac Shakur always emerges as a towering monument, a great street poet carrying a strange blend of fierce burning indignation and a compassion so deep it chokes the heart. But to truly understand Tupac, we must step back to his youthful years at the Baltimore School for the Arts. There, people didn't see an edgy gangster, but only a young man passionate about ballet who loved acting in Shakespearean plays and wrote romantic poetry. That young man possessed an incredibly sensitive, flexible soul and never hesitated to reveal the vulnerability of his inner self. Yet upon entering the music industry in the 90s, that beautiful sensitivity became an invisible sentence. The golden era of hip-hop at the time was built on an incredibly harsh cultural foundation where masculinity was framed into the image of cold, reckless men who were absolutely not allowed to shed tears. A toxic ideology inadvertently stripped away the right to live true to the softest part inside the artist. When video clips of Tupac's teenage interviews were dug up again, the crowd rushed to use a narrow lens to dissect his every fluid gesture and expressive mannerism. They immediately associated those purely artistic expressions with baseless speculations about his sexual orientation as a way to explain a type of masculinity they could not define. From a socio-psychological perspective, the rumors surrounding Tupac were not aimed at finding the truth, but acted like a tool to punish difference. Society at the time seemingly could not accept that a man could both write love songs honoring single mothers and roar fiercely on stage. Tupac crying in interviews or showing deep affection for soulmates like Jada Pinkett Smith was distorted into conspiracy theories covering up his sexuality. In reality, there is not a single document witness or solid piece of evidence confirming he was gay. The true legacy Tupac left behind is a bitter reminder of how a prejudiced system tried to narrow, suppress, and suffocate a great soul simply because he was too multidimensional for the shallow molds of the era. Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre is not just a name. He is an ideology, one of the chief architects who personally drafted the sonic map for the entire west coast of the United States. With a career spanning decades molding countless musical legends, his power and status are a fortress not easily penetrated. However, the cruel rule of the glamorous metropolis is always, when you stand at the absolute peak, you simultaneously become the target for the most ruthless poisoned arrows. The story about the gender rumors swirling around Dr. Dre is a costly lesson about the dark side of the entertainment business, where personal honor is sometimes used as a sacrificial lamb for power purges. Everything originated from turbulent partings in the mid-90s. When Dr. Dre decided to leave his old record label to build his own empire, he touched upon massive interests. In retaliation, former associates who once stood shoulder to shoulder used the media as a tool to assassinate his reputation. In an environment where masculinity and authority are the measures of success, releasing rumors that Dr. Dre had secret same-sex relationships was the most vicious psychological blow. It was not aimed at exposing the truth, but merely aimed at sowing doubt, weakening the image of a leader of steel that he had painstakingly built in the hearts of the public. From a humanistic philosophical perspective, the sad truth is that the crowd always tends to get swept up in highly dramatic fabricated stories rather than diligent labor achievements. A series of baseless gossips, and he said she denied arguments, cast a layer of fog over his career. But facing that storm of envy, Dr. Dre's attitude exuded a class of calmness and maturity. He rarely spoke up to justify or bicker in the press. He chose to let classic recordings, massive fortunes, and a peaceful family serve as the most ironclad answer. The story of Dr. Dre proves a truth. Amidst a world always looking to pull you down into the mud with cheap rumors, proud stillness and relentless dedication are the most solid protective shields. The stillness of Dr. Dre before the storm left a great lesson. But the secret behind Lil Wayne's public shocking kiss in the next position will surely make you completely change your perspective. Please do not take your eyes off the screen, because the most sorrowful truths are still waiting ahead. Lil Wayne is an incredibly special case in the music industry, a prodigy who completely reshaped the linguistic thinking and style of contemporary rap. Starting his career at just 11 years old, growing up between the soundproof walls of the recording studio and the bustling rhythm of the New Orleans streets, Wayne's childhood was a massive trade-off. In that context, he found a spiritual father, someone to guide and protect him from the storms of life, that was the head of his record label Birdman. The relationship between them went far beyond the boundaries of commercial contracts. It was the deep bond of a chosen family. However, that very bond became the focal point of one of the biggest cultural misunderstandings in entertainment history. The moment the two exchanged a kiss on national television created a psychological shockwave for the mass audience. In the underworld and the specific culture of neighborhoods in New Orleans, a kiss between men carries the meaning of absolute respect, a life or death vow of loyalty and protection between people who consider each other blood relatives. Yet when that image was torn out of its original cultural context and thrown into the middle of a media landscape always hungry for scandal, it was immediately distorted. The crowd, inherently governed by prejudiced views on masculinity, rushed to label that action as the manifestation of a hidden same-sex relationship. That cruel judgment reflects a shallowness of mob thinking when refusing to understand the depth of a phenomenon. Instead of seeing the gratitude of a child who grew up lacking love, now finding a sheltering father, people only focused on looking for sensational secrets. Lil Wayne faced those sarcastic remarks incredibly bluntly, putting the explanation right into his songs to protect the person who had taken him in. The story of Lil Wayne is a profound wake-up call. Never rush to use your own lens to judge how others express love, because behind those seemingly different gestures, there could very likely be a whole long, deeply moving story about sacrifice, gratitude, and human compassion amidst hardship. Jamie Foxx. Although not purely originating from the rapper circle, Jamie Foxx plays an incredibly special role with profound influence throughout the entire ecosystem of Black art and culture. Possessing innate talent spanning from Oscar-winning acting and peak music to charming hosting abilities, Jamie Foxx is like a gatekeeper of Hollywood. He frequently appears as a connector, a sharp commentator, where the deep secret backstage stories of the entertainment world are often revealed, typically through his famous radio show. It was right at this place that many stories about bizarre parties or the private hidden corners of stars were sparked. Through the lens of sociological analysis, Jamie Foxx's position is highly fascinating and demands masterful subtlety. He stands right in the eye of the storm of rumors, but rarely lets himself get swept into that destructive vortex. Jamie understands the cruel rules of the entertainment game very well. Once you expose too much of your ego, you become prey for the media. He himself has frequently become the center of baseless speculations about his personal relationships or sexual orientation. But his reaction is always a perfect blend of satirical humor and a highly powerful, indifferent attitude. He never speaks up in desperate justification, nor does he use the vulnerability of others as a stepping stone for himself. Jamie Foxx represents a highly calm and wise life philosophy of men who have passed the slope of impulsiveness. Through the way he coordinates conversations on the radio, skillfully steering sensitive topics and strictly protecting personal boundaries, we realize a great lesson. Amidst a world always hungry for sensational secrets and ready to tear anyone's honor apart for fun, maintaining a steady mindset, a profound stillness, and a half smile is precisely the most impenetrable armor. He is proof that the ultimate winner is not the one who speaks the loudest, but the one who knows when to observe and when to smile and let it pass. Diddy Sean Combs. In the history of hip-hop, Sean Combs, also known as Diddy, is not just an artist but an empire. He represents the pinnacle of power, wealth, and the brilliant business strategies that turned a street music genre into a billion-dollar industry. However, when a person stands at an overly high position where all rules seem to have to bow before money and fame, the boundary between desire and corruption becomes incredibly thin. Recently, when the hidden corners of his private life and the legal troubles related to his private parties were exposed, public opinion once again boiled with speculations about the true sexual orientation of this billionaire. Through the lens of power psychology analysis, the public's attempt to attach gay or bisexual labels to Diddy, following the shocking testimonies, is actually a substitution of concepts. What happened backstage in an empire is not a story about gender, but a story about manipulation and the abuse of power. When an individual possesses far too many privileges, they tend to establish their own rules of the game that go beyond normal moral standards, using their influence to force others to comply with scripts they themselves directed. The rumors about Diddy having connections with secret same-sex relationships are actually just the tip of the iceberg. The most sorrowful truth does not lie in whether a mogul hides his sexuality or not, but lies in the fact that the entertainment industry has tolerated a culture where the power of money can distort all boundaries of consent. The collapse of Diddy's image is a highly costly human lesson. No matter who you are or how much talent and power you have, once you lose respect for the dignity of others, the empire you built, no matter how magnificent, will one day collapse in ultimate loneliness and darkness. The collapse of an empire like Diddy's is worth reflecting on, but the fact that a great towering tree like Quincy Jones was dragged into the mud of gossip right up next truly exposes the cruelest dark side of the human heart. Please continue to accompany us to strip bare these highly paradoxical hidden corners. Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones is a name that transcends all boundaries of hip-hop. He is a guardian deity of the entire modern music scene, the man behind the greatest masterpieces of humanity, including the legacies of Michael Jackson. With over 7 decades of dedication, possessing dozens of Grammy Awards, he is the symbol of erudition and outstanding talent. Yet it is incredibly ironic and sorrowful that in his twilight years that respectable name was dragged into controversies and baseless malicious rumors from younger generations about secret same-sex relationships in Hollywood. The incident of Quincy Jones's name being mentioned in fabricated scripts about trading bodies for fame statements from a certain comedian reflects an incredibly agonizing reality of the modern media era. From a humanistic philosophical perspective, why do people so easily believe or take pleasure in tearing down a great figure? It is because of the envy hidden deep within the ego. For many who cannot reach the peak, the only way they feel satisfied is to use cheap rumors and sensitive conspiracy theories to stain the legacy picture of others. Facing those highly insulting rumors, Quincy Jones did not bother to speak up. The stillness of a towering tree is not weakness, but the pride of someone who has stood at the peak of Mount Tai, not bothering to bend down to argue with the noises at the foot of the mountain. This story brings us a profound lesson on how to view human value. Never let gossip and rumors overshadow great contributions. A lifetime of dedication to art like Quincy Jones deserves to be honored with immortal music, not to be used as amusement for worthless gossip. Ludacris. Ludacris, one of the monuments of Southern American rap music, has always been known for an incredibly polished image. From smash hits dominating the charts to international-scale acting roles in the Fast and Furious franchise, Ludacris has built a clean, desirable career and is an exemplary family man. Therefore, when his name was suddenly dragged into a fiery controversy regarding rumors about the Illuminati secret society and same-sex sexual compromises, statements from comedian Cat Williams, the entire internet world was put into a state of shock. This incident is a chilling testament to the destructive power of the fake news and social media era. With just a few baseless declarations without any verifiable evidence in an interview, decades of an artist's diligent, hard-working efforts were suddenly dissected and mocked. People used absurd conspiracy theories to explain Ludacris's success, implicitly denying the talent, hard work, and blood, sweat, and tears he had poured in. From a sociological perspective, attaching the label secretly gay as a tool to humiliate the honor of a married man is an incredibly cruel act, heavily imbued with the lingering discriminatory ideologies of the past. Yet how Ludacris faced this storm showed utmost class. He did not choose to bicker like a fishwife, did not go online to curse or create more drama. He stepped into the recording studio and released a razor-sharp rap verse freestyle, using his very art and linguistic thinking to satirize those who use conspiracy theories for views. Ludacris's musical response not only extinguished the absurd rumors, but also fully protected the pride of a genuine artist. The lesson we draw from Ludacris is, when slandered and smeared by others, the sweetest and most authoritative revenge is to continue maintaining your form, standing at the peak, and using your true talent to extinguish all disparaging remarks. Frank Ocean. Although Frank Ocean belongs to a younger generation compared to the OG godfathers of the rap scene, his appearance carried a pivotal meaning, completely shattering the wall of silence that had suppressed hip-hop for decades. In contrast to the legends who had to live in the shadows of secrets and rumors, Frank Ocean chose a path full of thorns but incredibly proud. He personally wrote his own story. In 2012, right as the peak of his career was blossoming, he posted a heartfelt letter on social media, gently and poetically recounting his first love for a man. That decision was like an earthquake, shaking the entire cultural foundation that inherently worshipped the toxic masculinity of this industry. Through the lens of human philosophy, Frank Ocean's action was not merely a confession about sexual orientation, it was a revolution liberating the soul. While previous generations had to use all sorts of edgy armor to cover up their sensitivity, Frank used his very vulnerability and authenticity as armor. He proved to the world that true art does not discriminate by gender, and a man does not lose his dignity or respect simply because he is honest with his heart. The melancholic, deep melodies in Frank Ocean's music have touched millions of audiences, transcending all boundaries of prejudice. The most respectable thing is that Frank's courage inspired and forced the godfathers of hip-hop to question their own ideological systems. He forced a culture accustomed to using gender as a tool for mockery to learn how to be quiet, listen, and understand. The story of Frank Ocean brings a highly powerful message to those who have passed more than half their lives. Sometimes greatness does not lie in bracing yourself to please the crowd, but lies in the courage to dare to strip away the fake mask, to live an authentic life no matter how stormy the world out there may be. Busta Rhymes. Busta Rhymes is always ranked among the immortal monuments of East Coast hip-hop. He is the embodiment of explosion, a volcanic energy source on stage with a rapid-fire rap style and an overwhelming aura. Throughout the glorious years of the 90s and 2000s, Busta was the symbol of a frantic masculinity, a model of an uncompromising street artist. Precisely because of the overly massive shadow of this image, when speculations about his sexual orientation were suddenly dug up again in recent years, it created a sharp contrast and became prime bait for public opinion. Everything stemmed from internal legal disputes with a former assistant, but through the blurry lens of social media and gossip from former bodyguards, a labor conflict was distorted into gender conspiracy theories. People whispered about hidden corners in nightclubs, baseless rumors about a double life. From a sociological, analytical perspective, this is a typical example of the cruelty of modern gossip culture. When unable to take down a man using talent or strength, the crowd often tends to use the most sensitive elements of private life to smear, trying to degrade their dignity with stories lacking verifiable evidence. However, the most notable thing about Busta Rhymes is not the rumors, but his process of cognitive evolution over time. In the past, Busta once refused to answer and walked out of an interview when asked about homophobia in hip-hop, clearly reflecting the evasion of an entire generation. But many years later, he himself spoke up in support of artists who dared to live authentically like Frank Ocean. That change shows a profound maturity in thinking. It teaches us that even if your past was bound by the prejudices of the era, you always have the right to learn, expand your vision, and shed outdated ideologies. Busta Rhymes does not need to explain his sexuality to anyone because the maturity in how he views the world is already the most beautiful answer for the dignity of an artist. Birdman. Birdman, the co-founder of the Cash Money Records empire, is one of the most authoritative powers of Southern American rap music. He appears in the eyes of the public as a true godfather covered in gold and silver, cold, ruthless in business, and always strictly adhering to the unspoken rules of the underworld. Under his molding hands, children growing up from slums became global superstars. He considers himself the father of the artists under his label, a symbol of patriarchal protection. Yet the very way this billionaire expressed affection placed him in the vortex of the most persistent gender rumors in hip-hop history. Originating from public lip-to-lip kisses between Birdman and his adopted son Lil Wayne, the mass public fell into a true cultural shock. In a rap world where masculinity is always measured by roughness, that affectionate act was immediately interpreted by the media into conspiracy theories about a deviant and secret relationship. People refused to believe that two edgy men could exchange a gesture full of affection without it carrying a carnal meaning. From a psychological perspective, this judgment stems from society framing the love of men. In the violent neighborhoods of New Orleans, where life is incredibly fragile, exchanging a kiss between brothers who go through life and death together is an affirmation of loyalty, a promise to protect each other against all dangers. Before thousands of mocking remarks, Birdman remained steadfast. He affirmed it was paternal love, the sheltering embrace of a father for the child who had built the empire with him. Birdman's attitude of defying public opinion brings a profound lesson. When your love is great and sincere enough, you do not need to care about the judgmental eyes of the world. He taught us to realize that behind the social shell full of prejudice, men of steel also have the right to show vulnerability, connection, and tolerance in their own way, even if that way goes against the expectations of the crowd. Wendy Williams. Although not a rapper, when mentioning gender rumors that shook the hip-hop world, one cannot ignore Wendy Williams. The queen of the radio waves and later television once held a terrifying media power in the late 90s and 2000s. She was the architect behind exposing, insinuating, and sowing a series of rumors about the private lives of black stars, including legends like Eric Sermon or Tupac. With a mouth as sharp as a razor and an unapologetic satirical style, Wendy turned her studio into an invisible court where she gave herself the right to judge others' sexual orientations in exchange for listener ratings. Through the lens of cause and effect philosophy, Wendy Williams's career is a highly tragic picture of the dark side of the media. She exploited the fear and homophobic prejudices of the hip-hop culture at the time to turn it into a money-making tool. Turning the private lives, hidden corners, or identity confusions of others into gossip for the crowd to laugh at is an incredibly cruel act. The rumors she spread destroyed many friendships' careers and left deep psychological scars for many artists. She built a solid empire on the very suffering and tears of celebrities. Yet the wheel of fate has never spared anyone. In her twilight years, when Wendy Williams herself had to face family tragedies, betrayal, the devastation of illness, and the collapse of the very media empire she built, the crowd turned around to dissect and mock her exactly the way she had once done to others. The story of Wendy Williams is an incredibly costly and sorrowful human lesson. Words are a weapon with horrific destructive power. When you use words to sow hurt and destroy the peace of your fellow human beings, you may achieve momentary fame, but what you receive at the end of the road will be ultimate loneliness amidst a world full of apathy. Cat Williams. Cat Williams is an anomaly in American stand-up comedy. A man possessing a sharp intellect, outstanding eloquence, and a raw view of the hidden corners of society. His appearance is always accompanied by roaring laughter, but is also full of hard-to-swallow truths. However, in a shocking interview in early 2024, Cat Williams crossed the boundary of a comedian to become the center of a media storm when he bluntly dragged the names of Ludacris and many other artists into conspiracy theories about trading gender for fame. Through the lens of sociological analysis, Cat Williams's statements reflect a highly sorrowful reality of the digital era. The rise of cancel culture and the decline of authenticity. Cat used sensitive concepts about sexual orientation as a weapon to mock tying the success of his colleagues to dark underground forces. Using a man's gender as a topic of public mockery is not only a personal attack, but it also stirs up discriminatory prejudices already deeply rooted in the heart of society. The crowd of audiences, instead of verifying the information, easily got swept into the excitement of gossip. The story of Cat Williams brings a profound reflection on the responsibility of those holding the microphone. Satirical art is a sharp weapon to condemn bad things, but when it is abused to smear character, degrading the honor of others without any evidence, it becomes an invisible crime. Fame achieved from sowing hurt to fellow human beings is a highly vain fame. The biggest lesson here is, no matter how smart and sharp you are, maintaining a moral boundary in your words is the true measure of a person's dignity. Shannon Sharpe. Accompanying the shocking event of Cat Williams, one cannot fail to mention Shannon Sharpe, a former sports legend who has now transitioned into becoming one of the most powerful podcasters in America. His program is a place that welcomes the biggest names delivering profound conversations. However, in the exact moment Cat Williams spouted baseless rumors intended to degrade the dignity of others, Shannon Sharpe chose to sit still, listen, and sometimes smile in approval. That stillness and tolerant attitude raised a massive question about media ethics in today's era. From a media philosophy perspective, Shannon Sharpe represents a generation of content creators standing at a crossroads, choosing to protect the truth or compromising for massive view counts. In a world where social media algorithms prioritize sensationalism, allowing a guest the freedom to weave sensitive rumors about the genders of other stars is precisely the fastest way to attract the crowd's attention. Shannon was not the one who uttered those bitter rumors, but as the owner of the platform, his failure to offer any rebuttal or request evidence was precisely a complicity in silence. For mature audiences, Shannon Sharpe's story brings a deeply poignant lesson about professional self-respect. When you hold the power to guide public opinion in your hands, you must shoulder the responsibility of protecting the truth. Turning a blind eye. Letting the honor of absent people be trampled upon simply for commercial purposes is a moral erosion. The microphone is a tool to connect people, not a sword to tolerate indirect hurt. The greatest success of a media professional does not lie in how many million views their video achieves, but lies in whether they can hold their head high because they never make money off the misfortune of others. Suge Knight. When mentioning the golden era of West Coast hip-hop in the 90s, Suge Knight emerges as a dark force, a ruthless godfather who used the harshest rules of the underworld to run the Death Row Records empire. He was the symbol of toxic masculinity, someone who always wanted to crush all resistance with overwhelming power. However, when facing the departure of Dr. Dre, who created the soul for the record label, Suge Knight revealed a deep helplessness. And to compensate for that helplessness, he chose the most cruel and cowardly method of takedown, sowing rumors about sexual orientation to strip his rival of his pride. In a culture that always upholds toughness and considers weakness a major crime, Suge Knight deliberately touting that Dr. Dre had secret same-sex relationships was a highly malicious psychological blow. Through the lens of human analysis, this action exposes the pitifulness of a soul gradually losing power. Instead of proving his greatness with new achievements, Suge chose to hide behind society's discriminatory prejudices to try to strip away the masculinity and respect that the public had for Dr. Dre. He used gender as a dirty weapon to satisfy personal vendettas. The story of Suge Knight is a costly lesson about the collapse of a tyrant. It teaches us that the true strength of a man does not lie in how much fear he sows, nor does it lie in what tricks he uses to smear someone who once stood shoulder to shoulder with him. Those who use rumors to degrade the dignity of others are actually the weakest and most deeply insecure people on the inside. Suge Knight's empire eventually collapsed in loneliness and imprisonment, leaving an eternal truth. The poisoned arrows you shoot in the dark will eventually return to pierce your own life. Xzibit, a symbol of West Coast rap culture, has always been tied to the image of a world-weary, edgy man, a street wolf with a signature raspy voice. He represents a generation of artists who always say no to fake noise. Precisely because of that highly masculine and solid reputation, the fact that Xzibit's name was suddenly dragged into discussions about closeted rappers left many fans astounded. But when delving deep into the root of the issue, we stunningly realized that Xzibit was not the center of the gender story, but he was merely a victim of media splicing. Everything stemmed from a story Xzibit told on the radio many years ago. He simply shared a personal experience when he accidentally stepped into an after-party event hosted by Diddy and felt astonished and out of place upon witnessing intimate scenes between people of the same sex. Xzibit chose to leave immediately because he felt that space did not belong to him. Through the lens of psychology, his story is an incredibly normal and genuine reaction of a person when placed in an environment outside their value system. He did not judge, did not discriminate, simply refused to participate. Yet when Diddy's scandals broke out, the online community dug up this interview segment and sliced it up mercilessly. They completely ignored the subtlety in Xzibit's narrative, using his very brief presence at that party to tie him to dark conspiracy theories. The story of Xzibit brings a highly profound lesson about the danger of the mob effect. In an era where information is consumed through short videos counted in seconds, context is killed without mercy. The fact that a man who accidentally became a witness was suddenly condemned by the crowd as an insider reflects the degradation of analytical thinking. It reminds us to always keep a cool head, not letting fragmented pieces of information cover up the true essence of a human being. Erick Sermon. Erick Sermon, dubbed the Green-Eyed Bandit, is a true master, one of the founding fathers who forged the golden era of East Coast hip-hop in America as one half of the legendary group EPMD. His music was deeply imbued with gritty funk, solid beats, and a confident, calm demeanor, without needing to try hard to brace himself or show off. To listeners who grew up with cassette tapes of the 80s and 90s, Erick Sermon is an untouchable symbol of respect and pure talent. Yet it is heartbreaking that such a massive legacy was once overshadowed by the dirtiest waves of rumors originating from a talk show, Queen Wendy Williams. Everything began in the early 2000s when Wendy Williams, in a desperate effort to increase listener ratings for her radio show, casually sowed rumors that Erick Sermon had secret same-sex relationships. In the context of hip-hop at the time, where masculinity was worshipped like a strict religion, calling a rapper gay was not a harmless curiosity, but a media grenade intended to completely destroy that person's image and livelihood. There was no photo, no witness, and no document whatsoever to prove that accusation. All were just irresponsible words uttered from a powerful microphone. Through the lens of human philosophy, the tragedy of Erick Sermon exposes a highly cruel hidden corner of mob nature. People always tend to easily believe a lie repeated over and over on the loudspeaker rather than searching for a quiet truth. Facing the wave of gossip, Erick bluntly denied it multiple times simultaneously, exposing the personal motives behind Wendy's slanders. He was not afraid of stigma at all. He was only indignant that his honor was being used for amusement. The story of Erick Sermon leaves a costly lesson for mature audiences. The dignity of a genuine man is never shaped by the tongues of gossips, but it is permanently carved by the real contributions they leave for life. Michelle is one of the most special and outstanding R&B voices of the music era of the late 80s and early 90s. She possessed a voice as soaring as a bird's song, bringing a highly soft and feminine breeze amidst a West Coast hip-hop empire inherently full of roughness and grittiness. However, instead of being fully remembered by the world for her musical talent, Michelle's life was swept into the vortex of personal tragedies and became a reluctant victim in the cruel power struggle between the men she was once attached to, specifically Dr. Dre and Suge Knight. The The focal point of the story, relating to today's video topic, is the persistent rumor stating that it was Michelle who caught Dr. Dre in bed with another man. This rumor spread like a virus in the media for decades, used by Dr. Dre's enemies as the ultimate weapon to smear his masculinity and take down his exclusive status. Yet when facing the storm of public opinion, the truth was completely different. From a sociological perspective, the fact that the crowd and media arbitrarily put words in Michelle's mouth reflects a highly sorrowful reality about the fate of women in showbiz backstage. They are not only victims of physical or mental violence, but sometimes they are also turned into senseless media tools by ruthless men to serve their mutual purges. Facing that blatant fabrication, Michelle bravely spoke up to correct the record. She flatly denied ever uttering that story, calling it a complete fabrication aimed at destroying someone else's honor. Michelle's decision to speak up demonstrates astonishing bravery and integrity. Despite carrying deep inner traumas from highly tragic romances in the past, she still did not follow. The crowd did not use lies to take revenge on an old flame. Michelle's bluntness is a profound humane lesson. Amidst an underworld full of schemes and hatred, maintaining a pure heart and refusing to participate in harming others with fake news is exactly the highest realm of kindness. Karina Steffans. Closing this list is a highly special figure, someone who did not hold a microphone to rap nor stood on stage to sing, but was the one holding secrets that could incinerate an entire entertainment empire. Karina Steffans, also known to the public by the nickname Superhead. She is the author of shocking memoirs where she stripped bare the dirty hidden corners, the wild parties, and even the truths about the sexual orientations of a series of moguls and top Hollywood superstars. Karen was the very person present in the stories of Xzibit and Diddy, a living witness to the discreet same-sex parties in the glamorous metropolis. The presence of Karina Steffans in the hip-hop world is a perfect mirror reflecting the hypocrisy of this industry. Through the lens of human philosophy, the powerful men who once sought her out to satisfy their deepest desires upon stepping into the light immediately donned the cloak of morality, calling her a demon, a blackmailer, and used all media tricks to trample on her dignity. Diddy once had to pull Xzibit into a corner to warn him about the danger of Karine. That fear was not because she did evil things, but because she was the rare woman brave enough to throw away all fear to speak the truth they were trying to use millions of dollars to cover up. The story of Karina Steffans brings a highly aching reflection on power and truth. Society often tends to despise women who dare to expose the dark side of successful men. People stigmatize her, but secretly seek out her books to satisfy their curiosity. Karine had to trade her entire youth and honor to survive in a toxic environment, but in return she bravely tore away the veil of hypocrisy of fake idols. She leaves a bitter lesson for the next generation. In a world run by sparkling lies, the one who dares to speak the truth is often the one who has to bear the most bleeding wounds. Closing the footage. Exploring the hidden corners of the hip-hop backstage, we understand even more deeply the truth. A person's value is not shaped by malicious rumors, but by the very legacy they leave for life. We wish you to always keep a peaceful soul and have truly warm, joyful moments with your beloved family. If you loved these profound perspectives, please hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell to continue supporting our memory vault. Goodbye, and see you again.